Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. And that's you, every last one of you, enjoying your dreams this day, during this time, in these bodies. You know, there are some things that are common amongst us, and one of them is a belief. Now, if you ask any American, I'm sure, what their idea of heaven is like, many would say that heaven is a place. Some will say that heaven is a inspiration, that heaven is within. Well, however they locate heaven, it would be described basically in action the same way. It's when the situation is just fine. That's heaven. When the situation is just fine. Some say when you're able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, the way you want to do it, and how you want to do it, and it bothers nobody. Can you imagine what that's like? Some would say that heaven is a place where there's no sickness. Heaven is a place where there's no poverty, no crime, no violence. But heaven is a place where people are constantly, actively involved in creation. Many would say that. Many would even say that when they left this planet, that's where they'd like to go. Heaven, 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 heaven. And you know, that's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And I have shared that feeling myself, so I know how to identify with those who feel that way. But over time, I have learned something that is so pressing and so wonderful that I have to dedicate myself to see if I can find some way to alert that message to you, to inspire you to rise up beyond where we are and to go where we perhaps as a people can be and can go. You know, when we speak of heaven, sometimes we think of those things that you mentioned, that has just been mentioned here. But usually, or in many instances, there are situations where things seems to be just unachievable by humans. That it would actually take a miracle or a miracle maker to cause certain things to happen. And they do happen. And we credit that with God. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen, as individuals. As individuals, we have learned to be selfish, as I have indicated oftentimes before. We are selfish. Anything that we come up with, however sincere and as justifiable as we might think it to be, there will always be a bit of selfishness and when we speak of selfishness, we're talking about to the degree that it denies another a due just because of your selfishness. And we experience that these things happen every day. But I come to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that there's something else bigger than all of this. And I think about this oftentimes. How in the world, how in the world, how in the world can we as a people be so confused? You know, we have advanced technologically beyond imagination of old. But when it comes down to we the people, the way we treat one another, we are still in the pre-dog ages. We treat people just like animals. We treat one another just like animals. And it seems as though we are getting to a point where it is more obvious than before. In other words, there is a cause somewhere that's driving us to become the worst that we can become. But I don't know specifically what it is. But I do know what can get you on the right track. If we all agree that heaven is all of the things that we mentioned heaven to be, then as much as, should I say, all that we as brothers and sisters, human beings, can possibly do on our own, we should replicate, we should do. And there perhaps just might be a measure of heaven in that. And I say this because I know that if you can receive an opportunity to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, and how you want to do it. That's a step on the road to peace, prosperity, and joy. And in order to do that, we must be able to invent, if need be, a way, a system, a mechanism of achieving a certain goal that does not in itself stray away from that which we seek. We must be able to look at one another and see ourselves in each other. That means looking beyond the self. And in order for us to look beyond the self truly, we must be able to recognize that there's something that all of us, each of us, are drawn to. And that which we are drawn to is the center and the source of our being, to which we owe allegiance. That if we each exist, it must be for at least as powerful a reason as any other existence. And other things are maintained. And if we as individuals have the sense of decision making and all of the other elements necessary for proper decision making, then we should be able to decide that our future is rest in each other. And that way, we do those kinds of things. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, this way. The world we live in does not create those things that we talk about heaven. For instance, the world has information that can help people when they're sick. Is everybody entitled to it? According to God, yes. According to man, if you can pay out of your pocket through insurance or some means, or through some entitlement, it must be paid or you don't get it. In heaven, we say that no one is homeless. Is there homelessness here in our system of doing things? Yes, there's much homelessness. And why? Because we do not care enough about one another to make sure that we guarantee them housing. And the reason that this exists is basically because of the system which we were bought into, the system which has dictated whatever we know in relationship to humanity. And so capitalism, making money at the expense of others losing their liberty even, then we are constantly driving ourselves further and further apart in order to achieve the life which we, each of us, say we so desire. Now, that's a trick, ladies and gentlemen. That's one of the biggest tricks I ever seen. In fact, it is the biggest trick. But I want you to know that what you so desperately, inwardly desire, and what others are using to manipulate you to conquer those same virtues and wants for them instead of you, can all be yours if you would just understand that you are to bow down to no other man. Sure, we need rules and regulations in order to maintain order in any environment that involves more than 2 or 3 people. You got to have some kind of rules and regulations. But the rules and regulations, my friends, can represent good or they can represent evil. And so what we, the people, have to understand is that whatever does not set well with us takes away, if it's imposed on us, some of our peace. Yet, we must also recognize that this is the same feeling of one another. And so, when we reach out, step forward to accomplish something, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in housing, whether it's in offering careers of choice to everyone, we step out with the desire in quest for producing the best that works for all of us. Why? Because we're trying to represent our God and not what rules and regulations have been imposed on us. Now, as a true step in the path of God, we must do right. And some of the laws that are on books in various nations are legitimate laws. they represent righteousness. And where those laws are, you don't keep in line with them because they're on the book. You keep in line with them because it's in your heart. You don't need to have a court or anyone to write a law and put punishment and rewards or this or that on it to encourage people or force people to adhere. No, you do it because it's in your heart. And other things that are in your heart to do, that there are laws that are written against your doing. You do what's in your heart. Why? Because what's in your heart comes from God. And these laws come from selfish people, which the law can change today or tomorrow, back and forth. But what's in your heart is legitimate. And so what needs to change is not your heart. What needs to change is the law. And in order for those who support the law to understand that, you must be willing to pay the highest price for that change, because you recognize the truth, and they must see the truth in you. I got a little daughter want to say something. What is it, dear?
Could you please hurry open the cereals?
The one of them is already open. Which one?
Um,
Bring it to me. And so what I want to say to you once again is that heaven is in the making of an exercise in your power. When you look at all of the evil things that's going on in the world that you don't like, you can say Satan did it. You can say the devil did it. You can say whatever you want to say. But the truth of the matter is that we the people did it. No fork, hornet, tail demon. No, people just like you and I. We did it. And in order to change the way we are going to a path that represents heaven, the first thing we have to do is stop doing what we are doing. Do that which is right and endeavor to, as soon as it is identified, those things that are not, those things